And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this lucky Friday the 13th. And hopefully you're having a great day out there. Finally, we're starting to see those winds relax a little bit out of the northwest under partly cloudy skies. Temperatures in the teens out there, and we'll warm it up into the low 20s today. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with our Ag Director, Bridgette Readel. Welcome back, Bridgette. How are things going for you on this lucky Friday the 13th?
Absolutely fabulous. I will say road conditions are improving as you go up I-29. I'm currently in Grand Forks for the Grand Forks Farm Toy Show at the Alaris Center. And now that the sun's out, that's really going to help those roads to improve. Do take caution. The passing lane was better than the driving lane for the northbound folks on I-29. Hopefully later today when I head back home, I can say the same thing about both lanes of traffic. We'll see.
Yeah, it's good to see the sun out. That will help matters. And with the winds dying down, we don't have to worry about any more blowing snow. But we already have our eyes on our next storm system that is heading our way. And that is going to affect, instead of the Northern Valley, that will affect areas along and south of 94, where the Northern Valley that got hit and into northern Minnesota with this last storm, they won't get hardly anything at all out of this next system. So for the rest of today, though, we're going to see more sunshine. Temperatures, as I said, in the low 20s today with lighter winds. And then tonight, we'll have partly to mostly cloudy skies, light winds, and lows dipping down into about 10 to 12 above range. And then Saturday, if you have travel plans over the weekend, get them done Saturday. Most of the day on Saturday should be okay. We'll see snow spreading in from the west towards evening, anytime after about 4 o'clock. And that is generally going to be along and south of 94. Any of the appreciable or accumulating snow will be along and south of 94. That snow will continue Saturday night before winding down Sunday morning, but we are going to turn windy on Sunday. So whatever snow we have is going to be blowing around. So expect slippery travel on Sunday. About 1 to 4 inches here in the FM area. As you go to our north, again, probably not much at all as you get north of Highway 200. Now you go south towards the South Dakota border. There's winter storm warnings in effect down to our south into Lakes Country, where they're expecting about 6 to 8 inches of snow down around the South Dakota border. So heavier amounts to our south. And if you're going further south towards the Twin Cities, let's say from the Twin Cities or central South Dakota through the Twin Cities up through about Green Bay, 10 to 20 inches of snow and 30 to 45 mile an hour winds. So we're looking at blizzard conditions down into South Dakota and southern Minnesota and into northern Wisconsin, where we're even getting some indications from Green Bay into the UP of Michigan. If you're a snowmobiler and you want to get that one last ride in, they could get 20 to 30 inches of snow in northern Wisconsin into the UP of Michigan. So an incredible storm. And again, it's going to push about as far north as that 94 corridor in terms of the accumulating snow. So we'll just get kind of sideswiped by that here in the FM area. But down into Lakes Country, Fergus Falls southward, they're going to get a pretty good shot at this system. That's for sure.
Well, I think the reports all the way down into some farm friends from Iowa mentioning how wicked the wind is. Frankly, I woke up in the middle of the night last night and had some flashbacks to the whole derecho of June 20th of this past summer. That was a lot of much. So with any luck, all of this is going to get better and we don't have to worry about it any further. So again, our weather brought to us by Progressive Ag Risk Management Specialists today.
Yeah, and the good news, Bridgette, by next weekend, not this weekend, but by next weekend, assuming we can, areas that have melted away all of the snow, we're going to be pushing into the 50s to near 60 degrees if we can melt away all this snow. So some really, really spring-like weather coming in here towards next weekend, end of next weekend into that following weekend. So that's the positive side of the forecast.
I'm not worried about all this snow because the picture of traffic that Addison is showing right now is bare ground. And when you look at what we saw this morning as I got closer to Grand Forks, probably looking for 3 inches of snow on the ground, maybe a little more. I'm sure it was very unattractive last night as far as with the wind is concerned, but it's not going to take long for that to be gone. Just the ground is warm. Things are warming up very nicely.
Yeah, and that sun angle getting higher and higher in the sky, so that melts things away pretty quickly. So that's good news there.
If you are out somewhere on the roads, well, let us know what the road conditions might be like. You can reach us on the JLA Crop Insurance phone line. That number is 701-293-9000. The deadline is Monday for crop insurance sign up. if you have questions, you'd better get those in today to Nate Thorsrud. Again, JLA Crop Insurance. And you can reach us at 701-293-9000 for all your questions, comments, and more. You can email us ag@flagfamily.com or weather@flagfamily.com. We very much appreciate superior grade equipment, keeping our inboxes powered and also making sure that you have superior grain storage, drying, and handling solutions for your farm. Find them at superiorbins.com. The live stream today will feature photos from the Grand Forks Farm Toy Show that I'm currently attending. I sent pictures and video to Addison. We're going to see those after our bottom of the hour news today, and just some of the unique items that will be brought to us on that live stream by Lighthouse Commodities. Lighthouse Commodities is on over 1 million acres of cropland here in North Dakota doing commodity consulting work, and you are welcome to watch our live streams and then also check them out at lighthousecommodities.com. So as I look around the toy show, I'm very excited to share some of the things that I saw, and I know we're going to get into those a little bit later because it's fascinating. There's some folks here with 3D printers as well, so I'm probably going to be visiting up with those guys a little bit later just to see what specialty items they're going to create.
You're like a kid in a candy store up there, I bet.
I also have candy. I have a bowl of candy out in front of me, and so I don't know if I should have the Twix or the Kit Kat first, but I am going to eat them both. That's just a sign of the times that I've got going on.
You don't have a bad choice there, so that's good.
That's exactly right. Someone's got to support this sugar beet industry in the state, and if I have to do it by myself, I'll do my best. News and headline type items to think about. We have recently announced an agreement on reciprocal trade with Indonesia. Now, according to the White House, on a fact sheet they recently published, the deal between the U.S. and the fourth most populous country in the world will actually eliminate tariff barriers on more than 99% of U.S. products that are going to be exported to Indonesia. As part of the deal, Indonesia is going to pick up about 50,000 metric tons of U.S. beef annually. They also now recognize the USDA Authority on Food Safety and Animal Health, and that gives more opportunity for exports. And Indonesia is going to lift its 30% tariff on U.S. ethanol exports, removing measures that have prevented us to export to them. And they're going to start looking at some other fuel mixtures and options as well. When it comes to dairy, the deal will eliminate tariffs on all U.S. dairy exports and recognize the U.S. regulatory oversight, as well as committing to protecting 40 common cheese names. So I guess if you have a favorite cheese name, now's your chance to protect it so nobody gets out of hand with it and you're not looking. But yes, Indonesia, for those who are surprised as I was, fourth most populous country in the world. I did not know that nor place them there.
Interesting.
Thanks to one of our listeners, he just texted me. He said, could you please not buy everything at the toy show? I can't get there till tomorrow.
He knows you well.
The reality is, Chad, you best drive fast then, but I will keep an eye on things for everybody when they get here. Now, additionally, we have had some discussion coming from EPA about DEF, diesel exhaust fluid, and could that be going away? Folks that are buying new equipment, especially like semis, tractors, etc., are constantly reminded that DEF is more of a pain than maybe an assistance to overall environmental quality. So with the EPA looking at repealing some of the situations with DEF, also just doing some deregulation, they no longer believe that greenhouse gas is a danger to human health and welfare. They want to relax federal emissions on cars, trucks, and this could also affect us in farm equipment. Are farmers happy to see it? Well, it doesn't really help many engines run better, whether it's tractors, combines, etc. And producers have been buying older equipment so that they could get away from having to deal with DEF or holding on to used equipment longer. So now there may be some who want to try to convert newer machines back or delete the DEF, if you will, so they don't have to deal with it. We're going to see if this works well, because some of these modern emission systems are considered an integrated ecosystem that's built around software, hardware, sensors, and even after treatment components. So this could cause some redesigns entirely in some of the farm equipment that people are looking at wanting to use differently, and that would be without DEF. So besides the toy show that I get a chance to be at today, I am looking forward to being caught up on what's been happening in the grain markets. Most of you know I was gone for a couple days this week. I was teaching at an agronomy conference in Fargo put on by the Ag Mafia, which was a great conference. I'll be happy to talk about that with anybody who's got questions. But I missed out on what's been happening in our grain markets. Well, that's why we have coming up next Gregg Hanson with Market Uncovered. Lots to learn from him. Got a few questions for him as well. And you can send us more at 701 293 9000 after the American Ag Network's Livestock Report. Are you thinking about a new steel, commercial, or agricultural building? Good news. Anderco Enterprises is ready to work with you. For more than 20 years, their business and farmers across the region have trusted Anderco Enterprises. And they have a solid reputation that was built on experience, reliability, and results. So if you are thinking about a building, especially one built to last, give a call to Anderco Enterprises, 701-277-7078, or look at their website, andercoenterprises.com. The conference I was teaching at this week was one that helped a lot of people bring out some very critical thinking skills. It's no longer the question of does this work on my farm or this doesn't work on my farm, but instead, how could this work on my farm and what could it bring for me? So it's very interesting to watch the progression of what people are thinking about. One of those thought producers, one of those critical thinkers that helped a lot of folks in the room, whether they were farmers or agribusiness people, was Chris Sherman with Tech Support Farm. Go look at the fence check assessment on his website at techsupport.farm, because if you're not sure if you are doing things right for your cybersecurity, now's the time to check. We're so close to spring planting. And when do hackers strike? When you're the busiest, when they can submit invoices that they're spoofing and you don't realize it. Go check that out. Techsupport.farm, the fence check assessment. You'll be glad that you did. Well, with other things going on in the news today, one of them is discussion about USDA. So here's our concern with what we see. USDA, as a federal agency, has done very well over the years, but I think the confidence in USDA is very much declining. And what I mean by that is last summer, especially as I got into August, we heard frequently from USDA reports, whether it was WASD or whichever ones, wow, we are just not going to have the grain crop out there, especially in corn, that we think we will. But then we got into late fall, early winter, and suddenly there was corn from heaven. Everybody found more corn. What causes some of that? First of all, there's infrastructure within USDA that's not doing great. Okay. A lot of information that is not being shared across the board from agency to agency, so that doesn't help. Farmers are losing confidence in doing the surveys and reporting back, so they're not doing it. And if you don't have foundational information to base off of, what are you going to get in the return? And then when you think about the 20,000 employees that are no longer employed at USDA, who's doing the work behind the scenes? So the question has become, has USDA outlived its usefulness? I don't know that that's necessarily the case yet, but I think it's going to have to be discussed, especially as people are trying to get to this one farmer, one sign in, one sheet that's going to follow you all the way through all federal agencies at USDA. So that could be Farm Service Agency, that could be what we do with National NRCS, National Ag Statistics, et cetera. We're going to see what that does. So, Dean, you said you got a listener email that we should address.
Yeah, the listener asked, with the crisis in the Middle East and the trouble in the Strait of Hormuz, how does that affect fertilizer prices, and will that trickle down to the consumer as we head into the spring and summer?
Okay, we're going to talk a lot about this next week. I've got this on my list of headlines, not only to visit about a little bit on Monday, but then also next Wednesday's guests will be the professional ag ladies. And we're going to talk about that because we've got the perspective of folks very active in the crop input portions of the industry, from
Okay.
fertilizer, seed chemistry, et cetera. Okay, so here's the tidbits that I can share for right now. With the whole war going on and with less fertilizer, in particular sulfur and phosphates, moving through the Strait of Hormuz, we are going to see a tightening of supply, even though we're not going to see a decrease in demand. What's helpful for us here in the northern plains, and I said sulfur, I should also add urea onto there for nitrogen sourcing. What helps us here in the northern plains, we get a lot of product out of Canada. So for us, for nitrogen, especially if I'm thinking about potash, et cetera, we're still going to get that here in the States. Or at least we are where all of us live. Additionally, much of the fertilizer for the 2026 growing year is already in sheds in our region. That's what people do in the fall, late summer, and through the winter, is they're refilling those sheds and making sure that that product's available for spring use. Will we see an impact at the grocery store? Hey, who doesn't take advantage of a good price increase, right?
Right.
Far be it for someone to not capitalize on a crisis situation. So,
Hmm.
will we see price increases? Yeah, I think we likely will. But it doesn't have to do with just that one instance. It has to do with what's going on with Iran. It has to do with the fact that we are still dealing with low water levels on the Mississippi that's going to make barge traffic coming north into the traditional Midwestern states tough to do. It will have to do with fuel pricing. Um, if you bought transports of diesel this winter, and I would love to talk to a supplier, can you continue to honor those contracts? Is there an act of God clause that you have to pull out of those contracts because your replacement cost just went through the roof? Those are the types of questions that we have to ask more of. We are going to get some of those answers coming up also during National Ag Week when we host the WDAY Radio Farm Show. That will be on air on Thursday, March 26th. We're going to start at 8:30 in the morning. We're going to go all the way till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. These are some of the topics and conversations we want to have with a variety of people, whether they are in equipment, machinery, and by that equipment and machinery, livestock, financing, and a listener favorite that I was asked to do after our last Radio Farm Show is a farmer roundtable. I should have about 3 or 4 farmers in the studio with me that day. And we're just going to ask them these types of questions. What is it doing to your operation? What are the impacts that it's having? Because what it's impacting the farmer will eventually come to us as the consumer. So either way, we're going to get affected in some short or long-term situation.
Right.
Successful Farming had a great article this morning. And for those of you who are busily Googling things on your late lunch break, go look up Successful Farming. They have an online magazine that comes out daily. One of the things they talked about was, is this currently setting up like 1970, where we had been dealing with the oil and fuel crisis, where we had the Russian grain embargo, or the wheat embargo was coming. We saw that in order to get rid of inflation and stagflation, the government was raising or the Fed was raising our interest rates rapidly. Are we on the brink of the same situation? That's for you to judge. But I think that's a great article. And again, that was done by Successful Farming. Came out just this morning for those who might want to read it. So that was a lot of information. I have no idea if it's all going to happen as of yet, but I think it's things that we have to pay attention to. The likelihood that it affects us at the grocery store is extremely high.
Yeah. Unfortunately, but
It always will, right? Again,
yeah.
whatever we're doing in farming will always somehow impact us by the time we get it to our grocery stores, our kitchens, all the above. So there's a lot going on. Well, speaking of a lot going on, there might be a lot going on for Gregg Hanson today. We haven't talked to Gregg yet with Market Uncovered. We hope to do that. We also want to talk about this Grand Forks Farm Toy Show where I'm at today. We're going to look at some of those pictures on the live stream. When we come back from our bottom of the hour news, Addison will have them all ready. I have a Kit Kat to eat, and we'll return. You know, a lot of days here on Weather and Ag in Focus, I talk about machinery during the week, typically on Wednesdays. But today feels like a really big machinery day, and it's probably because I'm at the Grand Forks Farm Toy Show. Before we show the videos on our live stream from Lighthouse Commodities, I want to say a big thank you to the folks that were on air yesterday while I was gone. They were with the Career Innovation Center. They did a marvelous job. These kids were demonstrating what they are doing to learn more about using heavy equipment. We're talking dozers, cats, excavators, all that type of thing. And they were well spoken. They were well prepared. They were talking about the simulators that they use, the fact that they actually get to go out and run the actual equipment at the Red River Valley Fairgrounds. I thought they were marvelous. So, Addison, I hope you enjoyed that too. It felt like a giant video game that they were playing when they were using the simulators.
Yeah, I liked it. I was kind of jealous. I want one of those.
I'll see what I can do to hook you up with a test day out
Heck
there.
yeah.
So, meanwhile, again, as I mentioned, I'm at the Grand Forks Farm Toy Show. And boy, you have to say that slowly, as you might have noticed. And I sent some video and photos back to Addison because if you are a toy collector, first and foremost, it's not just the farm toys. Directly across from me is a great big display lineup of Kamado and Caterpillar or excuse me, Komatsu. And there are so many different brands here for earth movers, excavators. It right away brought to mind, the mining that we do not only in North Dakota, but up in the taconite mines of Minnesota. So there is just a great inventory of things to be looking at, model years that go back in time. Then additionally, as you start to walk around, there's certainly the classics and favorites. Plenty of John Deere equipment. I came across a replica of the Minneapolis Moline. I think it's called the UTX, and that is an orange. Um, Boy, it's kind of a conglomeration. The UTX was designed to be the tractor that also worked as your car. So, meaning you could use it in the field to plow, but then you could put the family in and drive to church on Sunday. So it had this big oversized cab. It kind of looked like a large sedan, but yet you could use it as a tractor. And it had like a 40-mile-an-hour road gear, but it was rough. For those of you who have ever ridden in like a snow bear, I think you would assimilate this to a snow bear on tracks going down a highway, and Lord knows that wouldn't be comfortable. But I thought that little Moline was pretty neat to see. A lot of John Deere. Those combines that Addison is showing right now, that's a 7720 turbo. They're probably about the size of that Gleaner T9, or that's, excuse me, not the Gleaner, the Fendt T9 that's in my office, Addison. So you saw the size of those. They're not a small contraption, you might say. They're pretty cool. So we had those. Also, plenty of favorites here also from the Case IH lineup. I have seen several several Case tractors as well. There are just a plethora of things to be looking at. I haven't got to the other side of the room yet where students have set up their active farm displays, and so I will need to get some pictures of that we can share as well. And I did get your message, Addison. I'm supposed to look for the Komatsu D355A for you. I'll see what I can do.
It's specific, but anyone who knows. It will be mine.
It is specific. You do know it's a toy. I'm not bringing you the real thing.
I'll settle.
Okay.
One day.
I know. And
real thing one day.
I will look. I do not see trains here, but I will look for you.
Darn. That's okay. That's probably good for my bank account.
Speaking of tractors, because we are on quite the machinery theme right now, Kubota. Before I go to Kubota, you just put it up on the live stream. That is that little Minneapolis Moline UTX that I was talking about. So I hope people go find that on the live stream from Lighthouse Commodities. Kubota, meanwhile, they had a story that began back in 1890, and this is a Japanese company. They started out wanting to help improve clean water access by building cast iron pipes, sanitation, and irrigation systems. And Kubota came to move on from that ironworks factory into doing so much more. By the 1920s, they were expanding beyond the infrastructure and were really stepping up their mechanical engineering. They saw the need for mechanization on the farm, even in Japan, because more and more farms were finding that they didn't have enough people in order to do the work that was needed. That became very apparent after World War II. And so Kubota has built its reputation on being a trusted manufacturer of compact and reliable engines. And the company really has continued even from its first tractor, the Kubota T15. That's been 70 years since the company was founded that tractor came online. And so Kubota is still well known, especially if you think about orchards, smaller farm operations. They are a trusted and reliable piece of equipment on the farm. And today, they have a very wide range of tractors. And they meet the needs of all sorts of operations, from subcompact to compact, even to larger utility tractors or agricultural tractors, even those that can help you out whether you are feeding cattle or mowing ditches. So Kubota has a strong lineup. When we got to the National Farm Machinery Show in Louisville this year, a lot of pictures were being taken of some of the new models. They were high capacity small square balers. So Kubota not only looking at tractors, but looking at equipment and attachments as well. These new high capacity square balers feature a patented dual chamber design, and that really sets them apart from the traditional single chamber balers. And these options, they produce a 14 by 8 inch bale for the larger size one. The smaller is a 12 and a quarter inch by 18 inch bale. Okay, first of all, those sound just awfully cute and a lot easier to throw around than the square bale I was familiar with. Each side of the new baler can provide 100 strokes per minute, which with the dual chamber design means roughly 200 flakes of hay are being processed every 60 seconds. That is moving fast. And these are designed for commercial producers, custom hay operators who might be doing 50 to 100,000 bales per year. Really helps them cut down on the need to use multi-single chamber balers. And their new offering can cut field time in half, and their tying per bale can happen in 0.3 seconds. Okay, that might not make a lot of sense, but okay, Addison is my non-farm guy. When you run the hay in through a baler, and then you have to stop and wait for the twine to spin, especially on round bales, it can take a little bit of time until that bale is either completely tied up with twine or with net wrap. But these little square ones, to be done in 0.3 seconds, kabam, that's as fast as I'm going to eat this Kit Kat that's laying on the counter here in front of me.
Yeah, that seems a little fast, but any of those machines surprise me. I see this isn't probably a responsible thing to do, but I see videos of people like cannonballing into those machines and then they come out like all tied up, and it seems like a fairly fast process.
Okay, it's a really good thing that Angie Johnson with Farm and Ranch Safety is coming on next week, because I think it would be a great idea for us to talk about some
Look,
farm
I'm
safety.
not endorsing like anyone cannonball into one of those machines. I'm just saying
Okay.
I see videos of it every now and then.
All right. I'll be careful here, shall we? All right. The cold weather that just rolled in the last few hours this week really puts in a distinct set of operational risks for transportation when it comes to livestock. Poultry, particularly in live haul environments, they've got to be careful because cold stress prep needs to be done to address those immediate exposure concerns. And you got to winterize and plan for some strategies, whether it's poultry, hogs, or beef and dairy animals as well. Those live haul trailers are a controlled environment in motion. And during winter weather conditions, when you see the temperature fluctuations happening, you've got wind exposure, moisture accumulation, there's a mechanical strain that even happens. You've got to be planning ahead a little bit. And that airflow management is important. Cold air intruding along with those high winds can really create uneven temperature zones inside that live haul trailer. Many of us might call them a bull rack or a cattle pod. There are adjustable ventilation systems that move air channels around that give your operator or your driver a way to regulate that airflow and does not compromise the oxygen exchange. Just so you know, oxygen has to flow through when you have a trailer load of animals, okay? That's rather important. I think we all understand why. But then also you're balancing that airflow to try to prevent animals from being too cold. And then you have to do some insulating. You can use panels, flooring, wall assemblies that help with that thermal stability, and they don't trap extra moisture to create more humid conditions. If you have inadequate insulation, that's rapid heat loss, poor vapor control, and a condensation buildup. That moisture accumulation, that increases ice, corrosion, and sanitation challenges. Let me just say, if you are working with a bull rack full of cattle or hogs, sanitation does come to mind. So that moisture management is also important when it comes to being able to drain those trailers. There are sealed joints in there. And then even the structure durability under cold stress within those trailers can become a concern as well. Flooring, you don't want flooring that can get iced over so that animals slip and fall, especially while you're going down the road. And then the challenge for loading and unloading procedures changes too. You've got weather delays, you have daylight changes, and just overall slippery surfaces. So there's more to just loading them up and moving them out on a trailer. You got to think about all those other things that goes along with it. And we'll have some other ones to talk about when we return. I am live at the Grand Forks Farm Toy Show, but we'll be back with more headlines and probably a little bit of a road report after this. Thanks, guys. That was a great time for me to have a little break and eat a Kit Kat. So I much appreciate you giving me the chance to do that, Addison. Maybe I'll bring you some next week when I'm back in studio.
All right,
Okay.
you mentioned a Twix earlier, but was it a left Twix or a right Twix? Do they still do that?
Yeah, I think that one said left. I'll be honest.
Left.
I'll check the
Are
wrapper
there
for you.
actually people who are like hardcore left and right Twix? Is there a difference between a left and a right Twix?
If you are, you've got more time on your hands than I do. Just saying.
It wouldn't. Kit Kat could do that.
They could.
It's like when Mike and Ike's, they sold boxes of only Mike's or Ike's. I'm an Ike fan.
We are probably more of a food show than we really are an egg show some days.
Oh, I like it.
Seems about right. I'm okay. So you had Don Kinsler on earlier this week on Tuesday when I was off teaching. I don't think Don brought this up, so stop me if you did. Did he make mention of wood ashes? Or excuse me, he was on Wednesday, not Tuesday, Wednesday. Did he talk about wood ashes from your fireplace being used in your garden?
Not that I recall, but that sounds like an interesting idea. Where are we going with it, though?
All right, let's move on with this one. So it's cold out. People are running the fireplaces again. If you have wood ashes from untreated wood, that can actually be beneficial for your garden. Ashes, believe it or not, contain potassium, which supports your overall health of plants, phosphorus, which is good for strong root systems, and calcium, which facilitates a plant's absorption of soil nutrients. We just talked earlier about what's going on in Iran, and is that going to impact our fertilizers? So some of you are cleaning out your fireplace right now thinking, I got to save it all. But also those wood ashes, they will raise your soil pH and they'll make it more alkali. That can be of benefit if you have a naturally acidic soil and you want to grow tomatoes or peppers, but it could be disastrous if you want to grow acid-loving plants like azaleas or blueberries. So if your soil is already alkali with a pH of 7 or higher, raising it further with ashes really is going to risk your plants thriving. Only way you can know if your plants have a good pH, you got to test it. There's an at-home kit that you can do. Also, if you work with NDSU's extension service, they can help you get into the soil lab where you can have that tested for your pH levels as well. Probably a really good plan. I mean, if you're looking to step things up in the garden this year and want to be a success, I would say you take this into consideration. If you're going to use the wood ash, that's fine. You cannot use coal ash or charcoal briquette ash because they already have some binders and fillers, at least the charcoal does, that could be detrimental to your garden. So don't overdo it. This is not a situation where a little is good, I'll just do a lot more. Know your pH, understand what's going on with your soil testing before you just start randomly adding wood ash all over the garden. But it's an interesting concept and one that could probably be rather effective. So we'll see if it works. Do you have a fireplace, Addison? Should I be getting ash from you?
No, I don't have a fireplace. We had a fireplace in the house that I grew up from, though, and I do miss having a house with a fireplace.
It is very nice, especially around Christmas time, right?
It was very nice. Not sure how it works, but right before we moved out of that house, water started spraying out of the fireplace where the brick met the ground. It was a fireplace in the basement, might I add. It was right on the side of the house.
Did you build it over Old Faithful?
No. No, but it was very impressive. I remember waking up one day and my mom and dad were in the basement freaking out, and I walked downstairs. There was like an inch of water in the whole, and this was a big house too. There was like a whole inch of water in the entire basement. It was like spraying out of the fireplace bricks. It was pretty impressive.
In a finished basement with carpet, that's less than impressive when you're the homeowner and you have to pay that and talk to your insurance agent about it.
And there was a lot of carpet in that basement. Half that basement was like shag carpeting.
Oh, even better, because that's good and heavy.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm on, I know that when I talk about AI, I have to determine which one: artificial insemination, artificial intelligence, or active ingredients. Which ones do you think I might want to use today?
I'm
Any
hoping
guesses?
artificial intelligence.
You don't want to have to hear me talk about artificial insemination in cattle?
No, I have to eat lunch after this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
No,
good
don't
plan.
apologize. That means you're probably going to talk about it.
No, actually, I'm not. I'm going to use artificial intelligence today
Oh,
for a
that's right.
change.
Yay.
So here's a few things. Excuse me. We see more and more opportunity for AI to be used in agriculture. And again, talking artificial intelligence. We can use it to spot patterns in massive data sets. Some folks are using it to create works of art based on a farm data satellite imagery. The common denominator is that what AI accomplishes in tasks that generally require our human intelligence are adapting to new situations and they're learning from the data and results. So agriculture can give artificial intelligence a lot to chew on. The corn genome contains about 2.3 billion base pairs that form approximately 32,000 genes. Everybody's biology teacher is so excited that we all remember these terms. When you tap into AI's ability to sort through the repetitive codes, that can be a godsend to breeders and agronomists. The same is true when scientists are developing new approaches to crop protection, which brings and requires a very deep knowledge of molecular interaction with the target and with the environment. So in short, AI and human creativity is bringing on new heights and ideas of what we can do. Additionally, AI is being used to spot more AIs. And by that, I mean active ingredients when it comes to herbicide and pesticides. 40 years ago, only 2 new herbicide mode of actions were introduced. They were the last ones that were brought out. That's left farmers really reliant on approximately 20 modes of action. And there's a growing amount of resistance that's been a bigger and bigger concern. So there is a company called MOA. Most of us in agronomy think of MOA as mode of action, but MOA is using AI to screen more and more potential molecules that can be used to control weed problems or other pests like bugs and disease when we are looking for new solutions in ag. AI has been able to analyze more than 100 parameters per image when they are looking at microscopic plants that may have had a good candidate of a molecule sprayed on them. And really, all of this can shed light on how the plants are operating. In fact, at a company called Wild Biosciences, they're using AI to analyze their plant genetics and guide breeders towards huge improvements in crop production and performance based on how the plants evolved. They have recently created an initiative to master the genetics behind chloroplasts. That's where photosynthesis takes place, where the sunlight is taken in and the plant actually uses it like as a little combustion engine in those chloroplasts. So it's going to take a while, but right now we're taking hundreds of millions of years of historic data on climate and what the plants did for a solution in order to find better solutions for us to use in the field in time. So AI has its good side, it has its bad side, and we're going to see which side will come out in the end. One of the things that I saw while at Commodity Classic down in San Antonio, Texas, was a new idea from John Deere, and it is a E98 tractor, a tractor fueled with ethanol. So imagine this. You have your tractor that you're using to grow corn. Harvest the corn, turn it around, change it into ethanol, and the ethanol could possibly fuel the tractor. So the concept would be a blend of fuel made of roughly 98% ethanol. The remaining 2% is a denaturant. But unlike a traditional diesel engine, that E98 powered tractor would burn clean enough it would not require the DEF to meet emission standards. Earlier in the show, we talked about DEF and the repeal that's going on by the EPA. What a great fit. If we don't even have to worry about the DEF, yes, we can continue to the tractors we have, but going down the road, we may be able to use tractors that are fueled by ethanol where DEF wasn't necessarily going to be a requirement in the first place. So that's a pretty notable shift because emission systems add costs, maintenance, and they make it a lot more complex with all of the tractors that we have going on out there. It's been a busy week. We're looking forward to next week. And again, we're creeping up on National Ag Week. That'll be the week of March 23rd. You'll want to join us for the WDAY Radio Farm Show on February 26th. Until then, stay tuned for Jay Thomas. He is up next.